All right, we're talking F1 DFS for round 13 in Hungary. Now, I'm going to do this video a bit different, and it might end up being a little bit longer than normal, but the reason is lineup construction this weekend. We have an opportunity this weekend that we have not had this year, and as I said, as I hinted to last weekend, we're getting into a situation where we're finally having three teams that are going to be competing for the wins, that are going to have drivers and constructors all viable in the respective captain, driver, and constructor positions in a lineup. Now, the fact that we have Red Bull, for all intents and purposes, I would list them as out of the player pool due to the fact that it's going to be difficult for Verstappen or Perez to drive all the way up through the field, pass everybody in front of them, and still get the win. They can still do that. I'm not saying they can't, but the fact that they aren't in contention this weekend as primary plays, and I would argue that Perez might be a more interesting play than Verstappen this weekend, and I'll get into that in a moment, helps us be in a situation to where we might not have as many duplicated lineups as usual. We might not have as many people building the same lines and tying for all these positions. This is a situation where I don't think we're going to have a solo takedown in the 15. However, we are getting very close to getting separated from a bunch of lineups, and let's kind of go into that. And so for me personally, I think George Russell is a complete lock. Whether you're playing him as a driver or a captain, I'm going to have 100% George Russell. And the reason is that when we look at the player pool that is actually viable this weekend, that I view as you can actually use, I'm going to tell you who that is right now because it's the end of the month. I'd like to kind of support Pearce and I in the F1 stuff and these videos and stuff. So the player pool or viable plays this weekend that I think you can consider are Russell, Sainz, Leclerc, Norris, Alonso, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Perez, Magnussen, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Albon. Okay, those are the only guys that I'm going to be building with. Those are the only guys I have interest in. And the reason is because I think George Russell can maintain a running position inside the top four all day. I think he's going to get some laps led. I think he has a very real chance of competing for a podium, and I see him finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton. We're seeing that up front, well, I mean, clearly through the entire field for F1, but we're seeing up front that these guys are not swapping positions left and right. Despite the fact that we are getting these cars close together, you're still not passing that much. Okay. Secondly is I think Russell scores bare minimum 15 points, but I think he has an upside much higher than that. I personally have Russell projected for 22 points in this event this weekend. That is awesome for a captain, especially $8,400. Easy to throw him and Mercedes as a constructor in a lineup and build in that fashion, and then you can chase Leclerc, you can chase Sainz, you could, if you choose, you could chase a Red Bull driver, but I think leaning towards landing the race winner, it would be Russell and the captain with Leclerc in the driver situation, and then Mercedes in the constructor. If you feel like you want to chase Leclerc and the podium upside that Ferrari has, you can easily put Leclerc as the captain, Ferrari as the constructor, and then yet again you throw Russell into your driver. That's why I'm going to be so high on George Russell today, because due to that you can build so many lines. So let's kind of walk you through it real quick, and I understand that you can do this as well, but I want to give context to why I'm thinking this way. So you put Russell in as the captain. You end up throwing Mercedes in there as a constructor. Let's just say you are targeting one of the more expensive guys. I'm going to use Leclerc in this example, which this is going to be the probably my most owned core is going to be Russell and the captain, Leclerc as the driver, and then Mercedes as a constructor. It'll probably be dead even or slightly more than the Leclerc captain, Ferrari constructor. Whatever the case is, with these three guys, you have $5,400 left over. You can easily get to Tsunoda. You can easily get to Magnussen. You can easily get to Stroll. You can also get up to people who are going to be contending for a much higher scoring day, depending on what their teammates do. I think Perez at 9,200 is a very interesting play to try and get to, due to the fact that we might have a situation where Verstappen runs into an issue. You never know. The fact that they are nearly identical plays would lean me to playing Perez in every situation I can over Verstappen, and the fact that I can get to him in this line makes it easy. I have Fernando Alonso for over 10 points. I would try and prioritize somebody else near or over 10 points as your other play here, and those two guys are either Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. You can easily get to those guys with captain George Russell, Leclerc, and Mercedes as a constructor, and I'm going to go that way. I'm going to try and cover all the bases here, and so that's why I started the video with saying, let's not focus on who's going to be the race winner, because we're going to land on him however you're building lines anyway. And if you build enough lines, and I think this content or this slate leans really towards MME types of guys, they can cover a lot of different bases and not get that crazy. But you're going to land on the race leader one way or another, whether George Russell stays up there and wins this race or gets a podium, whether Leclerc, who's going to have a flying fast car competing for the win, and especially trying to get as many points on Red Bull due to the fact that Red Bull is going to be stuck in the field all day. It's going to be a really, really difficult road for Verstappen or Perez to get a podium finish today. And so I doubt Red Bull is going to do anything stupid. I know they've done it in the past, but Red Bull is not going to take their foot off the gas in this race. They want to try and get as many points on Red Bull as possible. I think we're going to see a Ferrari podium finish today, or in the morning. And I think it's very much a situation to where if Ferrari isn't a podium, Mercedes is going to be right there in projections. And actually, I have Ferrari as my highest projected constructor, but I have Mercedes over Red Bull, and so those would be the two guys those would be the two avenues I would work with. Let's try and attack the other way, since I did talk about Leclerc as the captain and Ferrari as constructor. Yet again, we're throwing in George Russell. I think he easily pays off this price tag. I think his price and the fact that I have him most likely finishing in front of Hamilton leans us to being able to use Russell in a lot of different ways. So the Leclerc captain, Ferrari constructor, and George Russell driver leaves you 4,200. It's easy to get to the guys that I've mentioned that I want to get to in the value range. That's Magnussen, that's Stroll, that's Tsunoda, and that's Albon. Plus, we can get up to a 5K guy if we want to. We can get up to Bottas if we want to. And we can possibly try and build a line to get up to Norris and Alonso. Okay, but the fact that Verstappen and Perez not competing for the win. So it's very much a situation to where we have a dark horse, Norris, who can get lucky, finish the podium, win the race, which we're kind of going to end up landing on, depending on how we construct lineups. The fact that it's going to be a Red Bull, or not a Red, the fact that it's going to be a Ferrari runaway, with Leclerc and Sainz being the fastest two guys, starting up in the front, competing for the win there. So however you're building lines, you can get to either one of those guys. You can also, say if you want to get crazy, now you have to double punt at the bottom, but you can play Russell and the captain and then play both Ferrari drivers and Mercedes as the captain, because if the two Ferrari guys end up getting a podium finish, even if George Russell doesn't win, if he's still on the podium, that's going to be a ton of points as well. There's a lot of ways to attack this slate, and that's more so what I'm leaning towards. It's not so where I have tunnel vision trying to nail who the race leader is or who the race winner will be, just due to the fact that I'm going to be targeting, Russell, Leclerc. I'll probably have Sainz in some lines. I'm going to be targeting Norris, Alonso to try and get different, and I'm going to be spreading out between the value range. I don't think we necessarily see one value driver carry the ownership, especially if people do attack it like with Russell. Like whatever his ownership is, it's probably not enough. I want to be over the field on Russell, and if the field wants to play 70% of him, by all means, let's do it. Let's hop on the George Russell train and see how this goes. But this is how I want to attack this race, with either Leclerc and the captain or Russell and the captain and their respective constructors as a constructor play. That's how I want to attack this race. Hopefully this helps you out. Maybe this gives you an idea of how you want to build your lines or how you want to attack this race. But if you like this, or if you want to see the projections as a whole, join the Patreon on Monday and support me, support Pearce, and support the videos. So I will see you guys. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for watching.